No, I know.
All right, oh, we got a minute. Students ready?
Yeah.
You ready for us?
Not yet. Yep.
Sorry.
Hi, guys.
No, you're good. You look great.
Hi, guys.
So, here's your-
All right, it's 6 o'clock. We'll call for meeting to order.
So as you can see, we have a special audience members here tonight to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Awesome.
So.
We'll do that right now.
Yeah. On your heart. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right.
You may.
Okay, give me just a minute to get them all out. Where'd you go? Hey. Sorry, we're a little unorganized.
You're fine.
So we'd like to, to the table, we'd like to present a little gift and thank you from the Jervis staff. For doing everything you do for the Jervis school district. She's not here, maybe we could just set them back. And Sandra, I know you're not a school board member, but we do realize you do a lot of work for the school. board.
And I got my sister breaker. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so much for these gifts. They're wonderful. Thank you for these.
Thank you.
We appreciate you.
Okay, I know. All right. So now, public forum sign up. Does somebody read it? Do I go get to that? Okay.
Oh, I think we'll just read out, yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so on public forum sign up, public forum, public participation in a board meeting. Statements by members of public should be brief and concise, directors may at his or her discretion establish time limit on discussion and oral presentations by the visitor and topic. Speaker may offer objective criticism and criticism of the school operations and programs, but the board will not hear complaints concerning individual or school personnel. The chair person will direct complaints to the appropriate means of board consideration and disposition of the legitimate complaints involved in it. At this time, members of the board are invited to do that.
So for announcements, as you might be aware, it's School Board Appreciation Month. And so we had our elementary students here this after or tonight. And I know Dusty's going to share some things later on in the report. I also wanted to point out over here, we have a poster from the middle school. And you'll notice that each of your faces are part of. I was wondering. If you guys are behind the curtain.
That is awesome.
That is from the middle school. I like their flowers and everything. That's really great. So. And then from our early learning program, you can see that they have presented you with a little certificate and plaque of appreciation. And each of our kiddos use their little fingers to create their little butterfly because that's the symbol for the early learning. And those are not identifiable. No identified information there. So again, we just wanted to thank you so much for all of your volunteer hours. We know 2 board members couldn't be here tonight. We'll make sure that they get their gifts and appreciation as well. And I know the high school will do some things for you in a little while. So with that said, I wanted to make sure that we all knew the timeline to apply for the board positions.
Yes.
You have 2 positions that are open in this May.
Yeah.
And so the application opens up on February 4th. And closes March 16th if you intend to run for the May election. So I just wanted to throw that out there. No need to make any kind of commitments right now. But I will be having conversations with those people whose seats are up for election, and we can go from there. So, okay. And then OSBA again is asking for anybody who would like to possibly serve on the Legislative Policy Committee. It's another volunteer opportunity. You can fill out an application. If you're interested, let Sandra know. She'll get you the application. It's not in the packet, but you know, it is important work. But I think that if you don't feel like you have the time to be part of that committee, you know, we'll be called upon as the legislator gets up and running to either write an email or send an email. And so have other opportunities to be engaged if that works for you. And then the next item on our agenda is our Frontier Charter Academy annual presentation. So we have 3 people in present and then 1 person in the virtual audience. And so I have your PowerPoint up, and if you guys want to come up here, you can just tell me next slide whenever you're ready to go, and that'll be fabulous.
Thank you. And I think Tim, are they on where they can speak, Sandra? They said
Yes,
they-
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, Bo, and is Tim part of your?
Tim's in here as an attendee, so I don't think he can speak.
Let me give him permission. Hold on just a second. It'll take Tim a minute to pop over here. Okay. So there's
Excellent.
Tim.
Hi, Tim. Hey, Tim. All right. Excellent. Well, thank you. Thank you, Chair Bustamante and just the board. Appreciate you having us down. We are Chart Academy, and I will briefly go kind of why we're even here and why we're part of the district. About 8 years ago or so, even before that, me and Bo were working at a virtual school in the state, and we just saw that there was a real need to do things a little differently when we're talking about virtual education, and there is a big need for virtual education in our state, but we felt we could do things so much better and basically teach them real life applicable skills using real life applicable tools, the learning management systems that were available that the university systems were using. We could use the same, where we weren't getting those with the big private corporate managed schools. And so we came up with the idea, we pitched it to Jervis School District, and I know Henry, you were here at the time, I believe, and I believe you were too, yes. And so we ended up here and started the school operations in 2017, that fall. We started with 100, we shot for 125 kids, we ended up with 142 that year, and we grew, and then COVID, and then things got kind of crazy, and now I think we're sitting about 350, but all in all, there's been enrollment growth. It's been very well received, and the way we operate, and we're able to kind of we can evolve quickly because we are self-managed, because we remain small. We intend to kind of remain small and have that quality feel for us. So it's been really a wonderful experience. We'll go through some of the data points from the last year, and then give you a little bit about what we're seeing this year and in the very near future too, with some of our activities. So, Bo, you want to go ahead and take that?
You want to do intros?
Oh, so
Yeah,
sorry.
sure.
Yeah, so sorry, Bo, we're gonna do intros. Thank you, Katie. So I am Todd Schweitzer, and I'm one of the founders and active director here at the school.
Melissa Wolford, business manager.
Katie Schweitzer, I'm the elementary principal. I oversee our student services program as well.
Bo
Tim, why
Neal,
don't you
I'm the
take
middle school.
introduction? Sorry.
Hey, I'm Tim Baddick, Technology Manager.
Bo Neal, middle school, high school principal.
All right, go ahead, Bo.
Yeah, so our mission really hasn't changed since we started, and it isn't really just words on a website. It really informs the decisions we make and the decisions we don't make. It also informs what we teach and how we teach it. I won't read it to you here as it's in your board packet, but I do want to show sort of an example of how it actually plays out in our school. So if you would go to the next slide, please. So the internet has made the ability to communicate through a visual medium and understand the basic principles of design super important. And for those reasons, we actually offer 4 art classes in a sequential order. And 4 doesn't sound like a lot if you're a big school, but for us, it's a ton. In those art classes, our students actually have the opportunity to use industry standard tools like Adobe InDesign and programs like Adobe Photoshop. As Todd talked about, we really want to get the tools that the students would need in a professional setting or would need beyond the school into their hands. We want to teach them how to use those tools. So this is actually an example from our digital design class, and it's a project that really is sort of contextualized in a real world setting. So basically what we did was we gave the students 3 different briefs of hypothetical clients. So 3 different clients. They're able to read about the client, the size, what the client was looking for in a logo, who the client serves, and then they were to choose one and they were to pitch them a design for a logo. Next, the students created a draft of this design and they brought it to the client, who was actually the teacher role playing as a client. And then they went on and worked on the first draft of their design. After the first draft, the client gave them feedback and they went on, took the client's feedback, because remember, they're not designing what they think looks good. They're actually designing for a client, which is a different sort of frame of mind. And it is even different than designing for a teacher or for a class. And so then with the sort of feedback in mind, they went and they redesigned their logos. And of course, the client being our art teacher, she really pushed for good design. And so what we have here on this slide is just an example of the first draft of a logo a student created on the left-hand side. You can see it's good with the colors and everything, but there's not much discipline or visual hierarchy. In the second one on the right, that's the final draft. That's what the logo turned into and is for a coffee shop. We like these type of projects because it contextualizes students' learning into like a real world setting, and implicitly it sort of answers the question, why do I have to learn this? Or when will I ever use this? So I just wanted to, or we wanted to rather, start off this presentation with sort of that in mind and as a context for the rest of it.
Okay, I think this is probably my slide. So student ethnicity, and I think this also shows that the bar graph represents the enrollment going on there. We have two blues. That doesn't make a lot of sense, but you can see the Caucasian students are in the blue in the majority. So keep in mind, this is not Jervis School District. This is the state of Oregon. So representative of the state of Oregon, we kind of fall within those demographics. There's no two ways about it. Same thing, just another visual, the gender. We for whatever reason, we get a lot more boys in there than girls, but just kind of a visual of our enrollment. And this one I do like the best. This will give you a real idea. This is where our kids are located around the state. So they really are spread out. And when we talk about diversity, on that first slide you saw, is a very, very white or Caucasian crowd. But keep in mind, and you travel around and understand our state and the political, social context of our state, we do have a diverse, in a very geographic, social political context, diverse crowd here. And it's interesting. In one of my first teaching, or not one of my first teaching jobs, but my first teaching job in a virtual school about 15 years ago or somewhere in there, 11 years ago, I taught social studies, and I actually used a thing like this. And it was very interesting when we started working in groups and we started having discussions, because students from Southern Oregon, really had a different view or experience. You're talking 15, 16-year-olds, they have a very different experience than the student from far Eastern Oregon or Portland Metro or Eugene. It was very interesting. So anyway, that's the social studies kind of taking off on you, but you can see we do represent kind of all over the state, and it creates some really interesting conversations in class and some challenges too. You want to start taking these? This is
Sure, I mean, this is
for
just
visual.
our staffing, this tells you, where our different classifications of employees lie, and you can see that even with, the COVID bubble that happened in 2021, we've tried to maintain our staffing levels and save our money, and so that, we've just been pretty consistent the last couple of years. This is another visual of our student membership, comparing what our membership is versus what the state pays us on. And you can see that in the 1920 school year, they paid us differently that year because of the COVID. If I'm looking at the right one.
Yeah,
And they paid us on the second quarter. Our enrollment spiked after
Yes.
that. And so we didn't get what we had actually served as far as kids go. And this is our audited numbers. It's not finalized, but I don't expect any changes. You can see here that we are getting a little bit, we got a little bit less money last year. We spent a little bit more. We're using that savings that we accumulated over the COVID period. And just as a note, those salaries also included grant funds. So it looks like it's a higher percentage of an increase for staff wages. That's not the case. We had more grant money. And so, and you can see that too under other state and federal sources. That money increased by 200,000. And this is just another way to show how much we are spending and how much we're getting.
but you can take this if you want.
Yeah, so this is just sort of our attendance, basically, percentage of regular attenders, and how we stack up against other online schools that are statewide in our state. You can see that we stack up pretty favorably, and I really think this is a testament to the engaging curriculum our teachers build and how hard our staff works to make sure we're engaging families and teachers. I did put the Oregon average, that's that red bar there, and that's essentially it. Yeah.
Yeah, and just, but now Oregon Connection is now Oregon Charter by name, and Oregon Virtual actually changed too. And those were two of the biggest for-profit managed schools, and they actually went independent. And we work closely with all the school leaders, and honestly, we may have had an indirect impact on them because they saw what good things are happening at Frontier and Baker and some of the other independent schools.
And then this slide, this is just if you were to sum up our year in a few data points, here it is: 83% grad rate, 71% on track to graduate, 94% attendance. The 71% is actually really high for a statewide online school because a lot of students actually come to us credit deficient. I'd imagine if you pulled those students out and you'd looked at students that have been here for multiple years, that number would be considerably higher, but we've worked really hard to get it to where it is.
Yeah, and I'll just put down too on those kind of those data points, and you'll see as we go long legislative session, and you might see in Oregonian and other outlets, people, online schools are failing kids. I've seen that actually as a headline. They're failing kids, and they'll take whatever data they want to make their story. But the truth is, like Bo said, a lot of them didn't come here successful and then they started losing credits. They came here credit deficient and started making up ground. And I've had students at graduation truly look at me and say, Mr. Schweitzer, I would have dropped out if there wasn't basically this virtual option. And so that means something. And so we held our first graduation last year in 21 here at the football field during COVID times. And then last year, 2 years ago, and then last year, and then this year, and in the near future, we're holding it at the state fairgrounds, which is really centrally located for everybody. We get a nice turnout. It is fun. This is from last year's, I believe, at the state fairgrounds.
I would say with that grad rate, something to note though, that's pretty comparable to the buildings, and considering kind of the credit deficient type of students that generally is drawn to online schools. When you look at similar online schools, they're generally in the 50s. So that's pretty significant.
Yes.
Honestly, we should have made a slide about that.
Yeah, our last slide that compares to this, but you're exactly right. And I can say, and it's some of the bigger schools that we showed are 59%. Yes, true. Okay.
So this is just kind of an overview. So we've talked about our, our student body. About 15% of our students are students with IEPs. We have actually, this is really a point of success for us. While that number might seem a bit higher, generally the state tries to aim for about 11%. We have become kind of a haven for kids that struggle in the building, especially a lot of students that have kind of those internalizing behaviors, anxiety, things like that, where really just getting to school can be a struggle. And this can be an option that wasn't there before. We also have a lot of students that come to us with a number of behavioral issues. This kind of removes that piece so that they can focus on their academics. There's a lot of parts that come into play there. They obviously need the home structure support to be able to do that, but we really have had similar conversations to like what Todd said, where people have said, this is so much better because we can get home, we can get them regulated, even if really a good spot for them to be able to get settled, feel successful in school. And we really have a lot of IEP meetings that are really powerful, positive, which I don't know if you work in special ed, but they're not always like that. So that's nice. We very seldom draw it, ELD students or ELF students. This year, currently at this moment, we don't have any. We usually have maybe one. So this is, for whatever variety of reasons, maybe not the best fit. We do have a number of students on 504s, very similar to IEPs, those same kind of needs, where we can just kind of take the building out of the equation. Our staff members, you've seen that. Technology, Tim, did you want to talk about that part?
For sure, I'll jump on. Thank you. To note from this, FCA was actually one of the, I'll say, early adopters for Zoom for using it kind of in general, but a live virtual classroom since 2019. So pre-COVID, our teachers are some of the most experienced educators, I believe, in a K-12 setting using that tool. For peace of mind, we have content monitoring and auditing for all student activity with real-time dashboards that are available for all parents, so they're aware of how students are using these computers. Speaking of those, we have a 1-to-1 NL71 Chromebook for all students, and we're currently rolling out NL72 so that everyone has up-to-date devices. For families in need, we have mobile hotspots just to make sure everyone can get connected. And so far, we've been able to fulfill all requests for those. We do our best from kind of a support angle to just make sure that families are as informed as possible to really be that active, engaged adult at home involved in the student's learning. So we've had live sessions, student onboarding, family onboarding. We use an industry standard customer relationship management platform, Zendesk, for dealing with all support. So whether it is an email, live chat, or phone call, those are all ways that families can get in touch with us. As far as self-servicing, families can use our knowledge center that's been created with about 150 articles. And to date, we've solved at least 2,000 tickets. Actually, I could have updated this, but quite a few. So we do our best just to make sure that everyone can get the tech out of the way and focus on the learning.
All right, thank you. Yeah, this is kind of moving into, well, obviously, where we are going today. This is, Katie, you want to speak to Frontier Days? This is a good one. She helps.
So a lot of people, when they call and are interested in enrolling, they are like, is there ever a chance to meet in person? And there is. So once a month on a Friday, we they're basically field trips, but they're inclusive of families and siblings. And we do 2 locations on that Friday, because one, we've gotten too big to really house that many people. And then we really try and have one that's either up and down the I-5 corridor, so like Portland, Salem, Corvallis. And then we try and move one around to hit our more rural areas. So you saw that scatter plot, you can see that, we try and reach out so that some other kids aren't always having to travel to Portland if they want to go. This is a kind of a quick list of places that we've gone or are going. This is this year that we're going to. It's really well attended. Families were so happy when we were able to.
6 hours to come.
Yeah, we have families from Southern Oregon that will come, or they'll go from Portland to Coos Bay to go to that museum or the aquarium. It's a great chance for them to meet their teachers, to see their classmates, and what's really fun is that you can watch the families that have been with us for a long time, who maybe started as middle schoolers and now they're high schoolers, and now they're kind of in an independent group. And they can really have that bond and kind of strengthen what they develop online. So these have been great. Again, that the attendance is kind of through the roof. And we have one coming up next week. We'll be at the end of the Oregon Trail Interpretive Center in Oregon City, and then we'll be at the art museum. That's kind of our two options for this month.
And clubs. So clubs grew out of our, basically when the shutdown happened and we couldn't meet in person and have our Frontier Days, we wanted to offer some other way for students to socialize. So we started sort of creating clubs based on student interest. So students basically would pitch an idea, get people on board, and then we would have a team member basically facilitate the club for them. And so these are the clubs that we're offering so far this year. I will kind of go down the list or read them out to you. You can all see them there in your board packet. But that's all what we had first semester. Second semester, we might be adding a couple more. But again, it's something that grew out of a need to get our students together and socializing somehow when we were all in our respective areas not able to meet. And we just have kept it and grew it after the pandemic, after everyone started coming back together.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely driven by student interest. And, you know, one of our things is we want to be responsive to our stakeholders, and our students are one of our stakeholders. And so if they show interest, we help show them how you organize a club. And, you know, obviously we need a facilitator and all that. So it's been very successful.
And that photo down there, we just had our National Honor Society induction ceremony. It's all done virtually, but that's kind of our latest crop of NHS members. So
Yeah.
that's been really good. And we started a junior version as well.
Was that the last slide? Okay, any questions?
No, it looks great.
Yeah.
Well, you were here at the last meeting.
Yes, yeah, when you
so it
approved
was-
the next chart agreement, so.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, thank you all so much. It really has been a wonderful relationship. I'm so glad we're settled in with our 10-year deal, because we couldn't be happier to be with Jervis, really. You've been super supportive. Danny's been wonderful. The communication is great. So we appreciate the relationship so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you so much.
Thank you for the
Thanks a lot.
information.
I gotta take a picture of this though. These are great ideas. Sorry. It's public information, right? Sit there.
Thank you, everyone.
I love what you guys do. I'm gonna maybe drop the ball on our board. We'll get somebody to take one. Thank you. We're gonna do that. Are you leaving and stuff? Yeah. all
Thank you
right.
so much.
Thank you.
So some about return to pre-dem.
Yes. We talked a little bit about that at the last board meeting. You probably have seen some announcements coming out. Starting second semester, we're able to go back to pre-pandemic life of start and end times. So I put out a communication district-wide early. And then now each school is following up individually with their families and their patrons. With the idea that all schools start around 8 o'clock. And then the middle school and high school get out at 3:10. Except on early release days, when they do have early release, they'll get out at 1 o'clock, which is a bit earlier than the elementary schools. And that's because of the busing. So the buses will pull in, load up the middle and high school kids, and then come over and get the littles. And so with this change, it still creates a system where no little kid will be left at home alone in the morning or in the afternoon, as we've got the bigger kids able to take care of them or watch them. It will adjust to everybody's kind of pick up and drop off time, because everybody's all on the same buses now, whereas before we would just bus all the elementary kids in and then we'd send the buses back out and pick up the middle school. So now that's going to change. And so my next communication to parents is to say, everybody strap your patience cap on, because it's just like it is the first week of school in September, where there's always a little bit of chaos. And so I know that the last week of the term, There are gonna be dedicated phone calls to parents. We're gonna put bus route information out to parents. And so, but we know that even despite all of that, there will be some confusion of the couple of days. So just be prepared.
I saw you started early.
Yes. Try. So,
All right, very good. And approval next. You guys go through 'em?
Yeah,
Anything? I didn't see anything, so
yeah.
Sure.
If you guys are good, then I'll motion.
go.
The Jervis School District #1 Board of Directors approves the meeting minutes from the regular session in December 16th, 2022, and the working session January 3rd, 2020. 2023. God, did I say that right? 2020. God dang it. What's wrong with me?
23.
Thank you. 2023.
I have a motion.
Second.
It's been a long day.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good, good. Public forum, do we have anybody out there?
No.
Raising their hand? Do
well,
we have anybody
no,
signed up back there?
Nobody signed up back
Very
there,
good.
so.
Good.
um,
Perfect.
Nope.
Okay, on to reports. I see a young man here, so. We're at.
Ashton came in person.
He did, he's right back there, hiding behind the
Come on up.
pole.
Hello.
So.
Again, I'm ASB president at Jervis High School. Gifts before? Yep. Okay, guys, I've got you some gifts for the Board Appreciation Month on behalf of the entire Jervis High School staff and students. We got you a little goodie bag, so if you guys don't mind, I'll pass these out real quick. Before I start my report, this is. I'm really bad with cursive. I need some translation here.
You were like, no, I'm not.
Right, it's like a foreign language to kids, isn't it? Thank you.
I guess we don't keep, we don't show them how to cursive writing.
Well, we do not have handwriting in.
So nobody can handwrite.
Henry,
Oh.
thank you. I knew I loved that.
Somebody knew I loved that.
Thank you.
Somebody told her, asked her, what is your mom's favorite drink or chips?
It's possible that you might all have children and relatives at the high school.
Yeah.
There was a little research that happened.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah,
Thank you. Sure you thank you.
thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
All right. Some news from the leadership. Concessions, we brought them back this year and they have been a huge success. We implemented our quesadilla and popcorn machines back in. Those have been a really good fundraising success. Like I can't express the amount of turnout we are getting at basketball games. We are running through them this way and it is really great. Prom is currently in our planning stage right now. We have decided on the theme of Great Gatsby for our prom theme.
Wow.
It'll be pretty snazzy 1920s theme. For clubs, Journalism Club has recently released their new paper. And this issue has been received really, really well, probably their best one yet. They introduced a students led article where they put in questions and they have one of the Journalism Club's members answer them, and it's been really well received, that has. And as far as FFA went, food drives have been completed. The seniors won by quite a large margin. The barrel was pretty full, but yeah, that's all I have to report to you guys. Not too much. Yeah. That's all I have to say.
Sounds good. How do we get a copy of the Inkly?
Yeah, that's.
Diego has not brought the last one home.
I have copies right here.
Oh, very good. Yeah. I guess so.
Also, kudos to whoever has the sign that says popcorn at the end of the games and just
Oh.
walks, with a hoodie, just like that, and
I don't know who it was, but he sold a bunch of popcorn at the end then.
I'll make sure to tell them.
Put it up.
All right, thank you guys very much.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Can I ask you, do you guys have a date for prom yet? Okay. All right,
That's
Thank
kind of
you.
it. Where is it gonna be held? Have you guys figured that out yet?
In the very early stage.
Very good. Well, at least you guys got a theme. You made one, check one off.
Pressure. Okay, we have Jervis Elementary School. Dusty, I shared the screen or given you co-host ability, Dusty, so you should be able to
Yep. Sounds good. Well, thank you so much for letting me be here. And I guess thank you first for the school board for just the incredible work that you're doing. I want to go ahead and just walk you through kind of a brief presentation, some of the happenings at Jervis Elementary School. So let me go ahead and oh, no, pause. Stop. Wrong one. Let me take you one time. Okay, we're actually going to take you to this one here. Okay, here we go. So we'll screen this really quick for you. Okay, so just a few quick happenings, Jervis Elementary School we want to share out. And first off, in kind of preparing for the school year, we took the district core values and we tried to identify what were some of the priorities that we had at Jervis Elementary School, building off a lot of the work that's been done by Dr. Creighton Helms and just an amazing staff. And so we identified that in the realm of equity, we really wanted to focus on our reading and ELD and our SPED interventions. And we'll talk about that here in a moment. So far as integrity, we've been blessed with some amazing grants, right? One of them for the STEAM transformation, others the Latinx Student Success Grant. And so we wanted to, with integrity, to really implement that, those programs well. Excellence was the curriculum implementation. We've had a lot of new curriculum adopted here in the last few years. And so implementing those with fidelity. Relationships, building strong relationships with students and with families to really improve attendance. And then in the core value of community to really increase family engagement. So I'm just going to highlight just a few pieces here. I will say the staff at Jervis Elementary is phenomenal. I don't think you could find a more committed and compassionate group of educators. And I think in this room, this is our reading intervention room. I think it really highlights that. Cindy Smith is an extraordinary teacher. And she took the position this year of being a reading specialist teacher. And she's got a great group of instructional assistants she's working with. We've got Charmaine and Madeline, Maida, Andrea, and Jessica. And in this room, you walk in there and there's just this hum, this noise, because there's 5 groups concurrently working with targeted leveled reading small group interventions. And they're using a program called Really Great Reading, and it's been absolutely amazing. So it's been really exciting to see this kind of, I think, intentional amount of intervention. And very similarly in the ELD side, Raul Gomez, Mercedes Cruz are ELD teachers, and Elizabeth Obendorf are ELD instructional assistant. And again, they've got every grade level broken into groups based on their English language proficiency and just providing some pretty amazing interventions with EL Achieve. And so we've got the 2 classrooms, then Elizabeth works in really small groups. And starting on Monday, they're going to be starting some after school, basically conversation tutoring and helping these students to pass the ELPA. And again, just pretty amazing. You're going to see, I think, some really long-term growth so far as kids exiting and passing that ELPA from, I think, what's happening in these LD interventions. We've been blessed to have some amazing assemblies. Every month we bring an assembly in to the school. We'd shared out previously Casey McAllister, a double amputee who'd come in and just really inspiring presentation. And then more recently, we had Jordan Vickers from Reptile Views, who came in with a couple dozen different reptiles, and the kids got to handle them. It was crazy fun and just really awesome. And again, lots of education about these reptiles and the handling and care of. He stayed for our after school program in a smaller group to give them even more handling opportunities with the animals. And so that was just really, really awesome. I think one of the most exciting things happening, and to be honest, also one of the busiest, are the after school clubs. That Latinx Student Success Grant has really afforded us what feels like almost unlimited opportunities to serve our kids after school. And so listed are some of the clubs that we've been doing: art and basketball, chess, Cool to Be Kind is a community service club, drama, latchkey, Legos, Oregon Battle of the Books, photography, sewing, soccer, Spanish, student council, STEAM, and violins. And in each of our sessions so far, we'd had 70% of our students participate, which is phenomenal. I don't know many schools that could have that rate of participation, and the kids have loved it. And these aren't just like, it's not extended babysitting. It's not just fun, but these kids are learning a lot, and they're being challenged and stretched in really meaningful ways. And down on the left here, this is the Lego Club, Jesse in the background working with them. And I think one of the most remarkable clubs is with Stephanie. So it's this violin club. They've already had 2 performances, and it's just remarkable what they're doing. And so just big thanks to the district for making that happen and being supportive. It's an expensive club, purchasing all the instruments, but it's going to be transformative for those kids. And we've also been having our monthly family night activities. We've got on board with the like Dia de los Muertos district-wide activity, or the attendance bingo and health fair. But then on the months that we didn't have a district activity, we did our own. And so we had an art club in September. We had a winter performance in December. And just this week, we had a family game night. Again, 40 families into the gym with unlimited popcorn and kernels everywhere, but it was a blast. It was just so much fun having families playing games. We had 50 games that we provided, and families were trekking in with their own games. But just to have families gathered, and some of I think the best feedback we got was parents saying, yeah, I need to find time to do this with my kids. And so more than anything, if we can just kind of create that, just that momentum, right, for families to be doing with their kids, right, engaging with them. And so that was happening this week. And we have some coming up in the hopper. We were awarded a $2,500 grant from the STEAM Hub to do a coding night. So that'll be coming up next month, and we're really excited about that. So just a lot happening. But I will be so quick to acknowledge that none of this would be possible, right, without some extraordinary support. And so, Dandy, we appreciate all that you've done as a dream maker. The school board, we appreciate just how real you are, how personable you are, and just how much you care about our students. And then there's just so much support behind the scenes. Everything from Sandra and Philip and Melinda and Tracy, there's just so many people involved. Creighton's been phenomenal, and just really appreciate just all the experiences we've been able to provide our kids. And it takes an army behind the scenes to do that. And I don't know if the kids realize that, but we do. And so I guess we just want to say genuinely thank you for all that you've done to support our students and make all this possible.
Thank you so much, Jesse. That was a great presentation. I was feeling a little down today, and now I'm not.
I should bring over some popcorn next time.
How many kids do you have in the violin club?
Violin club, we have 10 violins.
Oh, that's then you have to just leave it to that.
Yeah. So we limited it to 10 because, I mean, Stephanie So is an amazing concert violinist. And to go bigger than that, it's really challenging. These kids have really no musical experience prior to this. And so for them to be now playing and performing is just extraordinary to have done that in so few weeks. So yeah, so we're just kind of limited by the instruments and really by that small group to really make it effective.
Justine, did the same kids that started in the violin club, did they stick with it, or have they had some turnover?
Small turnover. We have 8 kids that have gone all the way through. We did do 2 kids swapped out. Yeah. And so and we pump it up really big. We tell them you're in the best club. There's no school in Oregon, I bet, that offers violin at the elementary school level. And so we just keep encouraging them. We praise them. We bought them shirts and just really helping them realize that this is an awesome experience.
Oh, it is. It's a great way to introduce them and things like that. So,
Yeah.
no, that's awesome. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Daniel. You need to go to your other meeting, so.
Okay,
we'll
thank
see
you.
later. Thank you. Tony, are you?
I'll play violin when they were growing up. And
Hello, everyone. There I'm focusing. There we go. I hope you enjoyed the poster. We were kind of batting around ideas and somebody was like, there's no place like home. And I was like, there's no place like GSD. And then we just kind of had fun with, hey, let's cut out their heads and put them on the little characters. And we thought nobody would appreciate being Toto. So just wanted you to know, we did not make anybody the dog. So, all right. So as you guys know, we're kind of wrapping up second quarter here. So that's really what we're focusing on. December was a short month, but a very, very busy month. And I think the big thing that was the time consumer and the positive thing that was happening in December was the annual food drive. It's something that the middle school has been doing. We kind of lost track of time. Fenya and I were talking about it. It's probably been 15 years or more that we've been doing the food drive and gift drive. We play Santa. And we buy gifts for the children and their siblings. And that was a really big deal. Lucas Hill was in charge of that with his leadership. I can't remember, we put it in the notes there, but there was like 7-10 families that we had. There was boxes of food all over the place. We had families come in and get food. Food was delivered. It was a really big deal, and people were very, very appreciative of that. And then we had wrapped presents that went with them. And it was so heartwarming, which it is every year, just to hear, oh, thank you, we really appreciate it. It makes the staff feel good, it makes the students feel good, and it's nice to know it stays in the community. I think that's huge. Really looking at the end of the semester, crazy to think about that we're almost halfway through the school year. February 6th is the first day of second semester. So really right now with the middle school and especially 8th grade, we're really focusing on those grades. We have an after-school study hall that's on Tuesdays and Thursdays for about 50 minutes. And we literally have staff going around that pick up the students at the end of class and they bring them in. We make sure that they get a snack, and then they're delivered around the school to 4 different locations to get that one-on-one help and try to get their grades up. As I said, 8th grade is really important because they need to be passing all their classes to be able to walk in promotion. So that's a huge focus. And yeah, it's really nice to see. I think it is helping. We're down to a 2-week push, so it's getting a little stressful, but we're definitely focusing on that. We're also starting, and I know Mr. Hill in 7th grade language arts has started doing the iReady testing diagnostic. We do that 3 times. We do it at the very beginning of the year to kind of get a baseline. Then now we're at the halfway point. So I know both math and language arts has started doing testing of that to see how we're progressing, how we're doing. So we have kind of a challenge out there, a reward for those diagnostics. All of the students have a goal that they would like to meet or hopefully exceed by the end of the year. And the challenge is if they have met halfway of that goal with 1 language arts or math, there will be a small party at the 7th period time. And if they meet one of their goal halfway one of their goals, then they get either a small bag of chips or a soda. If they meet their halfway goal for both language arts and math, they get both chips and a soda. And what middle schoolers really like is it gives them phone time and socializing time during that 7th period. So that's a very coveted prize that they really, really like. We should get that done in the next couple weeks, right prior to the end of first semester going into second semester. So we'll have a really good feel of where the students are. Going along with grades, we have a second quarter reward trip coming up. It just happens to be on Valentine's Day. It is scheduled for February 14th at Langers. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Langers. Langers is, I know it's a total shock. It's in Sherwood, which is where I live. Had nothing to do with that. But Langers is an entertainment center in Sherwood. If you've ever been to it, it's very cool. It's an indoor area, which was really important for my site council. They were like, bad time of year to be outside like at Bullwinkle's. We need to be inside. But there is laser tag and there's video games, there's bowling, there's a rock climbing wall, there was an obstacle course. And if they have straight A's for this is for second quarter, if they have straight A's, they get to go for free. If they have A's and B's, they pay $5. And that's a really good deal. If you look, it's really, if you were just to go in and buy a ticket to do this stuff, it's like $35. So it's a good deal for the kids. So we have posters all up. We've been really pushing this. We will get them in a bus. We have 100 slots. So we're pushing to get 100 students to go. We'll pile on a bus on the 14th and head over to go to Langers here in Sherwood. It should be a really, really good time. And I know students are really trying to work hard to get their grades up to those A's and B's to be able to go. We're really also making sure that SPED students and ELL students are being focused on. If they didn't quite make those A's or B's, but they're doing the best of their ability, they're working really hard, they're here, they're trying, their names will also be on the list. So they will not be left out if they're like at a C. If they're like at a D or an F and they have lots of missing assignments, sorry, no. But if they're really trying and doing the best they can, yes, they will get to go also. Probably the last thing, we're just getting ready, again, ramping up for second semester, is talking about electives. We just handed out a sheet this week to have students look at and pick their first, second, and third choices for electives for second semester. And all the students, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, all have electives 7th period. They get to kind of pick and choose, which in some districts, that doesn't sound like a big deal. Wow, that's been happening forever. But I've been here a long time, and that's a new concept for Jervis. And I love that the kids get a say in what they want. You know, they're not forced into art and I don't want to do art. They can pick art, or they can pick Lifetime Fitness with Mr. Jones, or fiber arts and be making stuff. So there's some good choices. Or now, which is really exciting, they get to go over to the high school and they're doing woodworking, which is very popular. They're doing food science, which is really popular. They're doing choir. And then the 4th one was photography. We're switching it to art for second semester, sorry. So yeah, so there's some really good stuff going on. So middle school's going right along. So it's nice. So again, thank you to the school board. You guys are amazing. I know you give tons of time and you don't get paid for it. So thank you guys. We appreciate everything that you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
Okay, I see.
Take a chair. Sit next to you.
We joked about doing a weekend update. Tucker and Andrew.
I'd watch it.
Okay. Every time I go last, I'm always like, oh, mine's so negative. But I don't think it is, because there's always a positive spin on everything. So copies of the Inkling. It's funny you mentioned that. We have copies.
Very good.
for free.
Thank
I'll
you.
just leave them back there when we're done. We're gearing up towards the end of semester 1. And what that means is running lists of grades. And when you count some students not passing those classes, there's never a fear, because what that means is they usually pull through in the end. And so we've been doing a lot of meetings primarily with freshmen and sophomores, or freshmen and seniors. Right now, we tend to focus on them a little bit more, and then, move to the sophomores and juniors. But students are getting it in gear. We know they will. There will probably be some sort of grace period after the semester to try to pull that grade up. But there's not a huge fear. Right now we have 51 students with 1 failing grade. And we have 85 with more than 1. But we don't have a lot of students with a lot. So it's usually 1 or 2, and those are very close to a D. So those conversations are happening. That's the negative part. Okay, I'm gonna move on to something a little bit more positive now. Also, first time doing embedded honors. So reminding students and teachers of that opportunity for the first time. And trying to get kids to challenge themselves a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see how many kids kind of go for that. In those classes, and honestly, the diversity of what teachers are gonna offer. To have them challenge themselves a little bit more, so. First time doing that for semester 1, I'm excited to see what that is going to look like. Semester 2, 8 a.m. start time. Tucker's gonna be dealing with some tardies, I imagine.
Every excuse coming out too.
Yeah,
so.
no, absolutely it will. So I don't think anybody knows exactly what that's gonna look like for high schoolers, especially. But we'll do our best to get in front of that as quickly as we can. It'll be an adjustment for teachers too. Yeah, I mean, everyone's gonna need a little bit more coffee every day, so, but we will adjust, as we always do.
As well as parents.
Yeah, no, yeah.
That will be anyway,
Yeah.
yes.
Youth Truth results are in. So we have formed a committee of staff members at the high school. We'll have our first meeting on Tuesday next week. And we started out the year with a so that'll be the staff side of reviewing the Youth Truth results. There will be a student committee. At the beginning of the year, I tampered with that student advisory council. It didn't really work the way I wanted it to. And I think it's because we asked advisory teachers to choose students. And then when we met a couple times, it was like, I don't really want to be a part of this. I was like, okay, you don't have to be. I don't want you to be here if you don't want to be a data person. And so I think with the Youth Truth student piece, it's going to be more of a picking and choosing students that we think are a good fit for that type of group, and then asking them, hey, this is what this is, you want to be a part of this? And because we want the right students to dive into something like that. So there's going to be a lot of data diving happening in the next month or two, which will help guide decisions going forward. So with a staff group and a student group. iReady testing, Tony talked about it for a minute. It's the first time doing this for the high school staff. So there's some adjustments happening. We've had some teachers start round 2. If they haven't yet, they will over the next week or so. It's a lot harder to get high school kids to buy into something like this than middle schoolers, and I'll just be honest with that. And primarily that's because the chips and soda just don't work for a 17-year-old. And even a $5 Dutch Bros gift card, I mean, that gets expensive. So I've asked staff, how can we incentivize this? And nobody's really had the answer yet. So right now we're at a point where we're going to see how round 2 goes. Teachers are 100% influencing kids to do the best they can. You always want kids to just have that intrinsic, well, I just want to see my reading and math grow. But we know that's not always the case. And so we're going to see how iReady goes at the high school this year. The data is going to be great to look at. It always is. But just to be completely honest, we'll see how high school kids take it and how they respond to it. But I love the fact that we finally have a formative assessment at the high school that we've never had before. Really. So it's a work in progress. I'm just sounding so negative right now. Okay, we're gonna keep going. This next one, I'm gonna try to put a positive spin on. We are experimenting with, and I don't want to call it in-school suspension because that's not really what it is. But some of our students who are less motivated than others, we are having spent time with the counselors and the IAs to have kind of a half day or a full day one-on-one session to try to get to know those students better. So we can specifically pinpoint exactly why they are unmotivated to be in class, go to class, pass classes. So it's not, we're kind of experimenting with, we don't want to punish students, but we also want to figure out exactly what we need to do to make Jervis High School work for you. Okay. Right now, it's not fully sustainable because we really only have one person who can do it for us. And that's Andre Brown. He's been fantastic. But going into the next school year, I think that's something I really want to build. Is like, let's have an internal, like counseling ISS model. To where we're not just punishing kids for skipping class and that kind of thing. We want to get to know what your story is. Anyway. So that's kind of a work in progress right now. That leads me into the PAUSE program, the alternative program, which we know has had a lot of success. But we're also working on having an on-site GED option for students. One thing that we think has happened among the community, not Jervis, but in the valley, is that we're getting a lot of seniors that are coming to us that are credit deficient. And some of them have heard about the PAUSE program and what Jervis has offered students to try to get ahead and graduate. But when we have a senior that comes to us with 2 credits, right? I mean, okay, we're not miracle workers here. You still got to do the work. So I think that program is gonna really just add more things to it that we can offer students. Because right now, at the GED, I mean, we don't have an on-site deal. It's like, you know, you're gonna go to Chemeketa, you're gonna do something like that. So that'll be really interesting, and that'll be great to have something like that. But we're getting a lot of those kids. They want to come to Jervis. So. Yeah, and the last thing is, Dandy and I have been working with Chemeketa Brooks. I don't know if I mentioned this at a previous meeting, but we'll have our meeting soon. Hopefully that'll get up and running to where we can offer an EMT program for next school year. Students will go out there half the day, just like walkout. And hopefully that takes off. And there's talks of us maybe having to replace the medical skills CTE strand that Sheena Bettis teaches, because she's most likely not going to be with us next year. And so I'm looking into a restaurant hospitality business strand that hopefully we can get going, but that's in the very beginning phases. Yeah. I know that's a lot, and I hope I put a positive spin on things. Go ahead, Tucker.
My turn. So a little bit kind of touch on what Andrew said about semesters 2 starting at 8 o'clock. We're kind of trying to get in front of that and just prepping kids that, hey, here we go, 8 o'clock. I guess I'm a little bit more optimistic. I don't think it's going to be as bad as we think it's going to be. I think after we get out 310 for a little while, everybody's going to be pretty excited that it's pretty light outside when they get to get home. And I think it also will help after school activities, whether it be clubs, sports, staying after, as Tony talked about, to do schoolwork. I think it'll be a little bit easier to get everybody on board to do that because they'll feel like they have more time. And it's not so late in the day. I think we'll see a lot of benefits from it after the first, as Danny talked about, the bumps in the road to start with. I think there's going to be a lot of positivity out of it as we get going. And going into athletics, I talked about a little bit before Christmas that the middle school wrestling had 4 dates. We made our own league with Kennedy, Sandy, Am, Colton, and ourselves. And we just rotated sites and we hosted our first middle school wrestling meet ever here at the high school gym, which is pretty awesome. It was pretty cool to see all of it going on and everybody there and our wrestling coaches getting that set up and Julie running all kinds of different stuff there. It was amazing to see that and all the kids do that. It was a pretty cool night. It was just kind of our trial run because we haven't had a high school home meet in, I believe, 15 years. So it was kind of our, let's reintroduce ourselves to how to do this before we just jumped into a high school meet, but we are going to have high school meets at home next year.
Maybe get back to the Cougar Classic.
Yeah, maybe we'll build to that. The Cougar Classic, I know, was such a big deal many years ago, but we're going to start with hosting our own meet, a high school meet. It's just good for those kids. They haven't had a home meet forever. Whether there be a senior night, all those stuff that's important. They have not had one. So we are going to do that. And that's something that we ran through at the middle school to work out the kinks. And it worked great. And watching them take the mats down and get them back upstairs and all that stuff was Julie had to reteach them. So it was pretty cool to see that. Girls basketball finished up. We played games actually in the middle school, the last two. Again, Julie and Gus got those brand new hoops in there. If you haven't seen them in the middle school, it's pretty cool. To have games in there. As anything new, there's adjustments we have to make. You know, things happen that you didn't foresee as you put them in, and we're fixing them as we go. But we haven't had, as games have happened, haven't had any complaints. We played a JV basketball games over there the other night. Just because of scheduling stuff, and it went great. And nobody said boo. And I walked over there a few times and was a little nervous, and it was awesome. To be right next door and be able to have that for our teams. It was easy for our fans and the teams to get back and forth. So that was a cool event to have that in. And boys basketball started for middle school. Today was their first game, and they've been rolling with practices. So they'll play all their games in the middle school. They don't have to go down to the elementary school, so they get to play right in their gym. Awesome stuff. I'm super excited about all those things going on. High school wrestling getting ready for districts as they're rolling. Winter sports are kind of winding down, believe it or not. It's crazy. February 9th is the last time that the league games will play for basketball. Wrestling's about that time as well. And then all the state stuff wraps up the 1st of March. So it's pretty crazy to think that we're already thinking about spring stuff. Spring schedule for softball is up on the OSAA site. So all those games are scheduled and ready to go. They have 25 games. And tracks scheduled. We have 2 big meets at home. Our coach David Castle is going to run on a Saturday at Janine James Classic. And I think he's got, I want to say he's got 18 teams coming to this thing. He took the small schools and invited them. So it's not going to be the big schools where it's just a whole bunch of athletes. So, but there's a lot of schools coming. It's going to be on a Saturday in May, I believe. And all credit goes to him. I mean, he is amazing. And he gets all that stuff scheduled and just gets it done. So we are very, very fortunate to have him doing all those things. So again, great for our kids in our community to have that stuff, and that's coming in May. Boys basketball is won their first 2 games in league. They are playing a lot better. The one thing watching them, if you haven't had a chance, they play hard, and they're in every ball game. Sometimes we are out talented, but we don't quit. And that's a credit to our boys. And we have a very real possibility of making the league playoffs as boys coming up. So I think they're going to play some extra games, which is pretty awesome. And you know, another win. I'm a very superstitious person, so I'm not going to talk about that. Probably the baseball in me. But one more, and I pretty much locked us into the league playoff for boys. Our girls basketball team just beat the #1 team in the state by 19 points the other night. I still can't figure out the math on the OSAA website, how we're still ranked 3rd, but it somehow evens out as we get going. So we are ranked 3rd in the state. We have not lost a league game. Play again, boys and girls play tomorrow night. And we're excited about both those teams. We will most likely host the girls' league championship game at Jervis, and that will be on a Friday night, the 17th of February. And we will host that game. Time TBA. I will push for 7 o'clock because I like later games, gives people time to eat dinner and get to the game and buy some popcorn at the Cougar game. But that is the kind of the stuff we got going. And not to steal Dr. Helms' thunder. But today was the first unified practice we had today. So that was the first one today. I don't want to take it all from him, but he has done an amazing job getting that set up and going and reaching out to all of us and getting that rolling with our home game that we're going to have on February 9th. It's going to be at 5:30 against Silverton. We're trying to get another one, and he's got leadership involved, and Andrew's met with kids with leadership to come help out, and they've just done a fabulous job. Everybody's excited about that. And like I said, Dr. Helms, I didn't want to steal your thunder. But that first practice was today. So it's pretty awesome. He showed the jerseys. I saw him wear one last time. So you've seen those. So it's a lot of exciting stuff going on at the high school right now. So, and I can't believe that we're already wrapping up the winter. So it's amazing, but here we are. Kids are amazing, and doing a great job, and just thankful for the coaches and all the help, whether it be Gus and Julie. We couldn't happen without them. So, and again, like Andrew already said, thanks to you guys, the board, for all your support too. We appreciate all of it.
I just want, one other thing I wrote down, I forgot to mention. Tony talked about the middle schoolers doing the CTE classes in 8th grade, which is, I think that's gonna be a game changer. And we have to gotta continue that going. When I was totally off topic, I had to say it. And they were, Lindsay and Megan, and Sarah were a little apprehensive at first, oh, really, in middle school first, but now if you talk to them, they're like, I love my middle school class, like, it's a blast.
No, I love it.
Anyway.
Trying to give them-
Middle school's awesome.
Yeah. Gotta see what they get to too, of course. Real quick, Tucker, do you foresee yourself doing that little league that you did with wrestling with other sports too, since it's
No,
on that little?
no, the wrestling thing was created as I came into it, so it just made sense. Set that up. The other ones have more of the other teams. So we are in an actual league for middle school basketball. But all those schools didn't have wrestling. So they just kind of branched off and made their 4 and just rotated it. So it just became much easier and they all could host a meet.
Yeah, no.
I thought it was a great idea as I came into.
Great
it.
idea.
And
It's all local.
you know,
Everything is local
exactly.
around here,
The
so.
hardest one's Colton.
Yeah, but
but
still,
it's
it's
not.
not that far.
So
Right.
that was a cool thing that I kind of came into, and we're gonna continue that forward. So for middle school.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think Dr. Helms wanted to share, I think, is it some pictures, is that right, Creighton?
It is, yeah, and I know I'm not on the docket, so this is just 2 minutes. But I received these pictures today. Danny, do I have, I do.
Yeah.
And so this is just, I just was so excited to see these pictures. Are these up on your screen?
Yes.
Yeah, where are they?
Okay, so this came out of Megan Dilson's Welding 1 class. And you can see, kind of some of the progression of the work here. Here's a flower. I mean, this is a really neat cat that was horseshoes and things of that nature. I wanted to share this photo, this bird-like structure, which is really incredible. And the reason why I was so excited, and I didn't want to wait until February, and I just asked Danny if I could have 2 minutes, is that this is Alexander. He's in Miss Bustamante's FLC class. And because of his disability, he's not even on a modified diploma track. He's on a certificate of attendance. He's not able to actually take core or electives for credit. But with this push for inclusion that we've really had with special education, Miss Bustamante and her staff have been really brave to get these students to be able to go into elective level classes and get some experience. And I mean, he does have a 1-to-1 aide that's off camera, but this is Alexander that's creating, actually welding and creating these projects by himself. And I got these pictures and I was so proud of the work that he's doing and how happy he is when he's doing it. And just how this truly exemplifies why we are pushing for inclusion with our special education students. I just wanted the 2 minutes to share these out because I think it's worthy of the time. And then I'll just, I'll leave it at there, but I'll just say I appreciate the board and, board appreciation month. It's an honor to work alongside everybody. And, I appreciate your time this evening.
Thank you for sharing. That's wonderful.
That cat is, we own that cat.
Yeah, I know. He made one for Mrs. B and she brought it.
Sue bought it from him. No, he did. Sue bought
Yeah.
the cat, I believe, from him. So, because he did it as some type of Sue said, you should maybe be able to sell these things and stuff like that. And he said, no. Sue said, you make me one, I will buy one from you. And so we made them. So pretty cool. Very
Yeah.
cool.
They're really incredible. He's doing a great job.
Yeah.
So, all right. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Karen, you're up.
Not this gonna take a long time, but, okay, so on my report for this month, I gave you our carryover amounts that came in for from the prior fiscal year. It was a little more than we had planned on, so that was good. But, you know, especially in the general fund, that was good. If you turn to page 45, Hannah brought this up about in the upper right-hand box, year-to-date other expenses, why it was showing so much less than the prior year to date did. And so I did a little more digging because I was looking at the numbers that I thought that was created by that, which I thought it was our 600 other expenditures. And I did figure out what is doing that. So I just wanted to go over that. It includes all other, doesn't just include the 600. It includes capital expenditures, which is a 500, dues and fees, and transfers. So there are three primary factors that are creating this low number and, you know, percentage for where we're at compared to the prior year. First of all, in 2020, 21-22, we did not budget for potential transfer of the charter funds into the general fund. This year, we budgeted 360,000, but that's probably just going to stay there. So it shows that, you know, that it's not as much of the budget happening in that regard. So that's one hunk of it. The other one is that in 21-22, we used quite a few of our ESSER funds for capital expenditures, and we spent over 300,000 in capital expenditures. But in 22-23, we've only spent about 8,000. And we budgeted funds there in case, you know, we can do the project with HVAC with using ESSER funds. So we've got things set there that they haven't happened. So that's another, you know, major component of it. But the biggest one is that last year we did the PERS bond entry that included 3.9 million in other expenditure category. It was just a paper only entry and it was dated back to August. And so even though we did it late in the year, it's still showing on our reports as a comparison of prior year. And that is really the biggest piece that's causing that. And so, you know, 2022, this is not going to happen because that was just a paper of the whole receipting in and the, you know, it's kind of just a paper entry and has nothing to do with real cash. So I wanted to explain that. So it's going to be looking like that for a while. So anyway, that was pretty much all that I wanted to go over. Do you have any questions for me? No. Thank you. Okay.
Thank
you.
Okay, for my report, the bond information will be a discussion item later in the meeting, so we'll go over that stuff. I wanted to give you a heads up that Millennial Reach is in the process of this week and next week contacting people to do the first ad, and that ad will focus on adults, community members, business owners, and they'll be asking them a series of 10 to 15 questions just about the relationship between the community and the school district and why it's important. And then what new facilities could do to benefit both the community and the school district itself. And then he'll put together a video montage. So you've seen those videos where you have like 8 or 9 people that are saying kind of the same thing, but differently. So that will be the first ad. And then the second ad that they put together will be more student focused. And so I have sent him names of people. So it's possible you'll get a contact, or you might get a contact from a community person saying, who's this Christian guy emailing me or calling me? And
so we can let them.
that's what that is. And then I had included in my report that we had the open house for the Willamette Career Academy last week, and on page 50, or excuse me, 66 and 67, I guess it's just 66 of your packet. They had handed out this flyer that just kind of gave an update about who Willamette Career Academy is and the kinds of success that they're having in terms of serving students and the different programs. And I also gave you this information on page 67 because I wanted you to be aware that we are going to go before the legislative body and ask for $2.85 million to fund Willamette Career Academy. And when I say we, it's the superintendents that have helped form the academy.
So it's possible that I'll be specifically asked to testify. We have some really good buy-in already. And this is kind of a good segue to the next point, in that Tracy Kramer, our representative for our area, will be on site January 31st, touring our buildings. I have a 90-minute time frame with her. So I'm going to take her into each building quickly, and then have about a 20-minute debrief that talks about the importance of the SIA funds, and which is funded from the corporate activity tax. One of the things that she ran on was reducing that tax, and so helping her understand, what that tax allows us to provide in this district. And she's also already been tapped by the lobbyist for the Willamette Career Academy funding. And so she's getting ready to propose a bill.
So I thought that it would be very timely to explain like how that's all interrelated.
Yeah.
And so when I get more of the details worked out, I'll share it with you. And not even the building principals know that that's really happening yet. That just kind of got confirmed the last couple of days. So that's exciting news. I'm glad to be able to get her into our buildings. I think that'll be an important relationship to establish. And then the rest of my report will be during the bond update time. I'll have it right in.
Board focus, you guys have anything? Consent items. On page 68. Look all right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I move that the Jervis District #1 Board of Directors approve the consent items as listed in mass. 7.1, 7.2, 7.3, and 7.4.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Roll on. Action items. You guys have anything there? On page 69.
So the first, the 8.1, you've seen these, this is the
Yeah.
second reading. It's 8.2 that is a third reading. I can give you an explanation of that when we get to 8.2.
Yeah, so that motion there on 69 is for 8.1.
My brain is.
I can read it. So I move Jervis School District #1 Board of Directors approve the changes to policy EH, ECPA, IGAC, and as shown in action items 1-2, 3-8.1.
I second that.
I have a motion and a second, all in favor? Aye.
Okay, so the policies that are in your packet for third reading are actually policies you've already adopted, but when we sent them to OSBA, they always relook or review the policies to make sure that there's not then brackets left inadvertently and dates are done correctly. So
We got a couple of clarifications. We left some brackets and some language.
we adopted a policy the way they recommended, but then they changed. They did it wrong. And so
We're just cleaning up policies that you've already adopted. It doesn't change anything from what you actually adopted. It just clarifies like, this is the bracket of language that they're using. And there needs to be a period here and this policy needs to be adopted. Like, for instance, with the tag policy, we said we're gonna use the complaint policy, but then we said in the policy, or you can use the tag complaint form. We don't have a tag complaint form. If you're gonna complain, you're gonna use public policy KL. So,
I don't, okay, so but on the tag one, didn't they create something?
yes,
There was
they,
a-
yeah. They created, so there was an option
I remember.
and yeah, and so but we decided to use the public complaint policy.
Yeah, the
so,
KL,
yeah.
yeah.
Instead of creating a whole nother.
Right, in a whole nother process and form.
The only weird thing I saw was that there's like a quote missing,
Where's that?
under academic achievements on page 78. The school staff will, and I think they just left out like some quotation marks. Or took it out or something, I don't know.
Where is that?
Number 5.
Number 5,
Uh-huh.
when no grades are given. Oh,
Do you see those little?
yeah,
After will,
yeah.
I don't know what was going on there.
That might have been part of the correction, because
Cleanup.
sometimes when you do the accept changes, could that be what that is?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I did have just like one little question, and that one was on it was on our tag one on page 76. And when it talked about, it's number 3 on assessment, like underrepresented population. What do we mean by high mobility? That's E, student experiencing high mobility. What does that mean?
So students who may be having housing insecurities, so maybe they're
Okay.
moving around, they're maybe homeless, but
Thank
maybe not
you.
quite homeless, yeah.
It's like,
Or
I
could be
was-
like in the military, things like
Could be
that.
that, mhm.
So
okay,
Or they just keep,
I'm not
Maybe
familiar
different-
with that
different-
term.
yeah.
So that,
I put it to, my brain was the military thing, but I never
Yeah.
thought about, the
it's
homeless.
in our area, because we don't have a lot of military people moving in and out.
Right.
It's traditionally a homeless
Home-
issue.
okay.
But like in San Diego or where you have other
Yeah.
bases, that could be their mobility
Washington,
issue.
things like
Yeah.
that, so, yeah.
Okay, cool. So where does that move us to? Do we have something else?
So that motion is on 7.
Okay. I move that the Jervis School District #1 Board of Directors approve the changes to policies IGBB, IGBBA, and IK as shown in action item 1-23-8.2.
Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Uh-oh. We have.
Then you just have to delete the one AR, because you adopted the new tag policy. It's on page 80.
Deletion, right?
Yeah.
I move that the Jervis School District #1 Board of Directors approves to delete policy IGBBC -AR as shown in action item 1-23-8.3.
Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Cool.
Cool.
Okay.
Okay, on to the bond. So you have several handouts that were not part of your packet. The first one that you want to look at is the Jervis School District January 9th Bond Committee combined. And so after we had our work session where you highlighted the things that you thought were important to add, Rebecca put those back into the Excel spreadsheet. And so on the first page, you'll see that we're looking at a total bond project of $20.495 million. So with the $4 million we get from the state, you're going to be, if you decide, you'll ask the voters for just over, 24.5, close to that. So I just wanted to highlight a few things on the bond project list. If you turn to page 2, of the packet where it says Jervis Elementary School. No, in Maria, in the packet you had, the little one.
Yeah.
You'll see that there's two boxes highlighted in green. And then there's a box highlighted in yellow. So like the yellow, it says HVAC upgrade. So that is not part of the bond proposal, but we will use ESSER 3 funds. Or if we get the Renew America grant, then we would, and the Renew America grant is the opportunities passed by Biden's infrastructure improvement package. And we are applying our concept paper on the 26th of January. And so if we got that grant, it could pay for HVAC, air quality, things like windows, air conditioning, roofing.
It'd be amazing.
Well, the total grant package is $300 million. The first round is 80 million, and there's only 6 districts in the state of Oregon I know of right now that are applying for it. So I think with our population, and if we can get this off the ground, I think we have a really good chance. So we put the concept paper in on the 26th, and then they give us feedback about, yeah, actually your project we would want to consider. Now we want you to fill out the rest of the application. And we would do that. And then the idea is that they would notify us between, that deadline is April, so they would notify between June and September if you got the grant.
So we apply for how much?
We are gonna apply for everything that we can identify. He's got these lists. And he's like, yep, that one, that. So we could be applying for up to upwards of $4 million.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
Perfect for it,
Heck, yeah,
FYI.
I mean,
yeah,
This is exactly the kind of, like, if they really are.
Yeah,
wanting to,
I'll for
you
sure.
know,
I don't know what our little district would
Yeah.
qualify for when free money. stuff is-
So the green box that's labeled roof upgrades, his name is Joe. He believes that could count for the Renew America grant. And then the other green box that's more new secure doors for lockdown. I mean, one way or another, we're gonna pay for that, whether we use our ice cream money from Frontier Charter or your excise tax, like we're going to pay for that. Okay, so then you'll see seismic upgrades is page 3. That's highlighted in yellow. That's a grant we've submitted. We're still waiting to hear. They're supposed to let us know in April if we got that, so that we can use that as a selling point for the bond. Jervis Middle School. Highlighted in green is outdoor learning and gathering spaces for students. And so what you're going to see is in the bond language that I'm going that's draft form and that you'll be considering next month is that either there'll be extra money from the bond because some of the projects we thought we were going to have to pay for coming out of one of these grants,
Right.
or you could just decide, hey, out of our excise tax or out of our capital improvement tax money, we're just going to pay the $62,000 to have outdoor learning spaces for kids.
Okay.
And then the yellow highlight, we're just going to absorb that into the normal maintenance budget because we can make those things happen. Okay, at the high school, again, there's the first green highlighted line. It says lockers for students currently sharing. Either that gets covered by extra bond dollars if we get these grants, or we're just going to pay for that out of our other funds. And then the outdated tech equipment, Joe believes that's the guy with the Renew America. The grant also pays for technology updates, so he's going to include that in that funding. And then you've got the last 3 items that are the major HVAC issues at the high school. And so again, either the Renew grant will pay for that, or if we have grant funds covering other costs, then these are the next 3 projects that the bond money would cover. So we've kind of got the structure, where things are interwoven. On the last page, you'll see new football, soccer lighting. He believes that we can also include that into the Renew grant because it's also energy upgrades. So, cool. Yeah. So that's kind of the project list we've identified that that's happening. And so if you look at the next part of the supplemental handouts I gave you, it's just a kind of a Word document, and on the top of it, it says ballot title. And so I'm crafting this with the attorneys. I say, no, don't do that, or do we have to say this? And so basically, in this statement, we have to cover all major projects that we would cover if we pass the bond, so that nobody can come back and say, you didn't say that the bond money was going to be paying for new locker rooms. We would never have supported new locker rooms. It also helps keep the bond committee in line that, no, we're not using bond dollars to remodel district office space like that. No. And so you can see here that we talk about that we have the $4 million grant, that we're going to ask the district to issue a $24.486 million bond. That at the bottom it lists it's 25 years, it's $1.97 per thousand. And that it's going to pay for safety, security, and technology additions, upgrades, furnishings, and equipment for all buildings. And then for the middle school, we talk about constructing the new space and improving the existing building. And the high school talk about improvements and where those are going to happen. And again, they're kind of broad enough that it covers a lot of areas, so that we will have the latitude to be able to make these improvements. And then the elementary school, HVAC, entries, ADA accessibility, and the roof. So that would cover like the front entryway, making it handicap accessible, making it a secure entryway with a vestibule, that kind of thing. And then we refinance the existing $2 million loan. We take that loan and put it in there, which is how you free up $245,000 every year, which would pay for these additional things that we're looking at. And then if all the projects are under budget, additional HVAC at the high school, outdoor student gathering places and structures would be added. So I wanted to show you, I just got this afternoon. We'd asked Rebecca for a rendering.
Yes.
And so this is just the first draft that she sent. I've sent it to just one other person so far. So this is the high school. I think my recommendation is going to be to Rebecca and her team that we need to now label some things so that people can understand what they're looking at. So for instance, this right now is the middle school. That is the 6th, 7th grade, basically hallway with the front office. And then here is the 8th grade modulars, right? And so in this rendering, in the new building, you're adding, this is all new. New cafeteria, kitchen, performing arts, stage. You've got some music rooms here, you've got restrooms here. And then this is the main entryway. So you've got, your office space, people walk in, it's secure. And then these are all classrooms in here. And then there's going to be a covered walkway to the 8th grade modular. So that's the first drawing. That's kind of the aerial view. And she said they could add other, that's not it, other angles. So then this is the front. And again, I said, I want it to be just a concept drawing because I don't want people to go, oh, no, I don't like those colors. Oh my, I hate those windows. Like it's just a concept. So again, here's the current building. I'll have her get that bus out of there so that you can see it. Here's the current building. And then, here are the new spaces that we're adding.
This is so cool.
So that people can get a view,
A
visual of what it looks like.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have them do the same thing with the high school. Like, this is what the front entryway will look like. That we're gonna rip out this wall and create it, and then the same thing at the elementary school.
Will we be able to put those on the website?
Yes,
And
yeah.
Before and after?
Yeah, I
Pic-
think,
Current pictures of it?
yes,
and
I
then-
think you could do current pictures and then,
And then what
and then we'll-
what our
Mhm.
minds think
Yep.
is
Yep.
gonna see.
we'll label them as concepts.
Yes.
Hopefully everybody will understand what that, I think people will understand. So then, so this is what we have for that. I think that what I'm gonna recommend is that we spend from now, tomorrow, until your next board meeting, really pushing out. The board is considering another bond. here's the project list. Here's how you give public testimony. Here's the kind of ideas that we're thinking of. I want to send out a little flyer to all of the techs, just like we're doing with the newsletter. It'll be in English and Spanish that kind of addresses some concerns. Why are we going for a 30-year bond? Well, in this case, it's 25 years. Well, because that's how you finance, just like when you buy a home on a 25 or 30-year mortgage. It's the same concept in school districts. You know, all of those kinds of, why would you need to remodel a front office? Well, when you blow out the main door and put in a security vestibule, all the offices will have to be moved because it is now going to impact that. You know, any of those questions that kind of were sticking points for people. That made them want to say, no, I can't, you know, I mean, there's.
And so we had FAQs on all of that too, right?
Yes,
Like,
we had all of
I mean, so we have that.
Yeah.
What we need to do is just go back and look at them
Mhm.
and have them readily available to our,
Yes.
you know, for
Yep.
when we have
Right.
questions.
Yeah.
So I will go do that.
And I'll send all of that out again, and so that you guys have all of your points. And then, what's gonna happen is that if you're okay with the way this is progressing, then I'm gonna work with the attorneys to get this finalized, so it's your February meeting, you can take action on it and we can get it filed.
Yep, 100%.
Okay, and then,
Is there also some way that like to see what the bathrooms are gonna look, what the, you know, concepts of what the bathrooms are gonna look like, what the locker room's gonna look like, what those are monies that we're gonna be actually spending on? And then do another one of those open night things and then put those pictures up in front of every one of
Yeah.
those things.
I can ask Rebecca to start working.
Through,
on
they
this.
can see,
Yeah,
hey,
for sure,
this is what,
yeah,
go ahead and walk in, what you see in
Yeah.
that bathroom.
Yeah.
Because I promise you that.
Well,
That high
we could
school one,
do-
that very first one.
we could just take
Oh,
a
man.
picture of the actual bathroom right now and then have the conceptual drawing right
Yep.
next to
I
it.
love that
Exactly.
idea.
So, you know, like when you watch Property Brothers,
Yes.
right?
Same type of thing.
Yeah. That's
Okay.
a good idea.
All right, so we'll do that. And then the final piece I wanted to give an update to you on is from Lisa Freeling, our legal counsel. She was working on the how do we provide property tax relief to our
Oh, yeah.
low income and renter
Yep, yep, yep.
population. So she's been doing quite a bit of research and she's presented kind of a summary of what she's recommending. Again, I got it just this afternoon, like an hour before the meeting, and so I haven't really had a chance to look at it. But basically, she's recommending that it become a superintendent committee with the makeup of who's on the committee. So it'd be myself, maybe 2 local business owners, a staff member from the city, 2 parents, the business manager, and then we'd have district legal counsel. We would come up with a process of like, here's the application. She's got a recommendation that we use the income threshold that is set by Oregon Department of Human Services on the January prior to the committee meeting. So if we meet in March, then whatever the Department of Human Services has set as the threshold for poverty with income and number of people in your household, then that triggers people being able to apply for the property tax relief. And so she describes how the funding is established. It's through rentals of the facilities. I mean, she's vetted it with many other attorneys, even at the national level, and everyone is like, what? You're gonna do what? So,
Yeah,
I,
so far out of the box.
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
It's awesome.
and so I've also reworked the calculator and how much, you know, this is gonna cost. If you're a property tax owner and you own an average home of, I'm gonna make this up now, because I can't, 145,000. It's gonna cost you like $198 a year.
Sure.
And so, I think we have answered the naysayers of you're going to really impact our senior citizens and our low income people and our renters. And so we've addressed that. And so once we kind of get this fleshed out more and you're okay with the way the process looks, I want to put together a whole flyer, mail it out to everybody like we've done before, everything else, and let them know that.
That's great. And I think also now that you, with the monies that we get for the rental of our facilities, now that you can got a nice story to tell those people that are renting, because a lot of them are, you know, why are you charging me? I already,
Right.
blah, blah, blah. Well, you're helping people.
Mhm.
It's just
Yeah.
that money's not just going here.
Right.
It's gonna
Yeah.
help your community
Mhm.
that you live in.
Mhm.
So we appreciate it.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, we win on both things there.
I think the most money we're gonna generate is actually once we get the artificial turf in,
Oh, yeah, sure.
because we'll be able to rent it out year round.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, all the different groups.
Okay, so that's all I have for this then. So then if you guys are good with what I'm doing. Okay,
Perfect.
so now we're just gonna go into executive session.
Yes. So we
Use the restroom.
Oh, yeah, we need to take a break.
gotta go out of regular.
Yes,
then
and you need
we'll
to call,
close it
you need
by-
to list
minutes?
why we're going into executive before
You
you,
got, do you now?
you do it now.
Okay,
Mhm.
so we'll be
Right.
going into executive
we could go into recess.
recess.
Oh,
Yeah,
adjourn,
okay.
And then
And
come
then-
back
yeah,
and then read
okay.
it at that point.
All right.
So go, your potty break.
Okay.